Okay, so this week we dove into some uh, maybe unexpected sources.
Hmm.
We found ourselves looking at these guides on AI, like ChatGPT, but written for, well, for kids and younger learners.
Yeah, it was pretty surprising. And the kicker is the stuff in these simple guides. It's the foundational knowledge that, honestly, a lot of adults, even professionals, seem to be tripping over.
Mm. It's true. You see people making really basic errors with these tools. They sort of sipped the 101 lesson that, a middle schooler might be getting right now.
Exactly, which is just wild when you think about it. Like that lawyer case we read about, submitting totally fake case law generated by AI.
Right. That wasn't some complex technical glitch. That was a fundamental misunderstanding of what the tool is and isn't. A literacy failure, plain and simple.
So that's really our mission for this deep dive, isn't it? To
Yeah.
pull out those core rules. Think of this as the essential AI user manual you maybe didn't get.
We're going to cover, what AI actually is, how you can steer it with prompting, where it tends to fall down, hallucinations, bias, and crucially, how to use it responsibly.
And before we even get into the nitty-gritty, there's this amazing meta detail in the sources about the guides themselves.
Oh yeah, that was fascinating. The creators were totally upfront about using AI to help make the guides.
They didn't just write about AI, they used it as a collaborator. They shared, like, the exact Kindle Direct Publishing settings, 6:9 size, using bleed for the images.
Which means the pictures go right to the edge, looks more professional.
Right. And they even gave the specific prompts they fed the AI to create the illustrations inside the books.
Which is the perfect example, really. It shows AI not just as a topic, but as a practical tool, a co-pilot in the creative process itself, like publishing.
Okay, so let's build that foundation then. What is AI? Fundamentally, we bump into it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Navigation apps, playlist recommendations.
Chatbots on websites, yeah, it's everywhere.
But when we talk about AI, especially generative AI, we need a clear definition. Forget the sci-fi stuff for a moment. At its heart, AI is mostly about pattern recognition.
So it's like a very sophisticated statistical engine, following rules, crunching data.
Exactly. It identifies patterns and generates results based on those patterns. It doesn't think or feel like we do. That's key.
Okay, so if that's the general idea of AI, what makes generative AI or Gen AI different?
Well, think of standard AI as analyzing what's already there, like your smart speaker looking up a fact, or your GPS finding the fastest route based on current traffic data. It analyzes.
Right.
Gen AI, though, it creates. It generates new data, new text, new images, code, video based on the patterns it learned from the data it was trained on.
So analysis versus creation. Got it.
And the sources had this brilliant analogy for it. AI is like a mirror with memory.
A mirror with memory. I like that. Explain that a bit more.
Well, it reflects back what you put in, your prompts, your questions. But that reflection is shaped heavily by everything it remembers, all the books, websites, articles it was trained on.
So it can sound incredibly smart or fluent because it's drawing on this vast memory bank.
Precisely. It might sound convincing, even persuasive. But, and this is the crucial bit, that doesn't mean it understands in a human sense. It doesn't have context or judgment.
That's where we come in, the human judgment part.
Always. That's non-negotiable.
Okay, so if it's mirroring us, shaped by its memory, then controlling that reflection is paramount, which brings us squarely to prompting.
Yes, and thinking of prompting not just as asking a question, but more like designing an output.
Designing. I like that framing. It implies more control, more intention.
It's a total mindset shift
Yeah.
because the quality you get out is directly tied to the clarity you put in. This is what the source is called the golden rule. You have to set the parameters, define the sandbox for the AI.
And this is where people often go wrong, right? They don't give it enough direction.
Yeah.
We need to define those key things. What were they? The what, who, tone, and how long.
Exactly. What do you want? An email, an article, a list? Who is it for? A colleague, a child, a customer? What tone should it use? Formal, casual, skeptical, enthusiastic? And how long? A paragraph. 500 words. Bullet points.
If you leave those out, the AI just guesses.
It guesses based on probabilities from its training data. And often, it guesses wrong or gives you something generic and useless.
So instead of just saying, tell me about dinosaurs, which is way too vague.
Right. You'd say something like, okay, write a 400-word article for a 10-year-old audience. Explain the main theory about the dinosaur extinction event. Use an engaging, confident tone. Include 3 subheadings and mention one modern animal relative.
See, that's specific. That gives it clear boundaries to work within. Much better.
And it's not just about the first prompt either. What if the first try isn't quite right? You don't just scrap it and start over.
Ah, this is the layered prompting technique they mentioned.
Yeah.
How does that work in practice?
You refine it iteratively. Maybe you start broad, ask for an outline first, get the structure down.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
Then you zoom in. Okay, expand on point number 3 in that outline. Focus specifically on the economic consequences. Then maybe adjust the style. Now rewrite that section, but make the tone more cautious.
So you're guiding it step by step, like you would a human assistant almost, a very, very fast assistant.
Exactly, you're shaping the output progressively.
I also found the part about what-if questions really interesting, moving them beyond just, fun fantasy scenarios.
Yeah, that's a powerful technique. It's easy to ask what if dogs could talk, but the real value is in using what if for functional innovation.
Like asking.
Like asking, what if we redesigned our city's infrastructure entirely around pedestrians and cyclists? What are the top 5 logistical challenges we'd face? Or what if we achieved truly pollution-free personal transport? What secondary problems might arise in energy grids or material sourcing?
So using the AI to explore possibilities and potential roadblocks for real-world problems, pushing boundaries.
Exactly. It becomes a tool for structured brainstorming and critical thinking.
Okay, we've talked about control. Now we have to talk about when it fails, because it does fail. The big one is hallucination, or as the sources bluntly put it, the confident liar.
That's such an apt description. The AI essentially makes things up. It generates answers that sound plausible, authoritative even, but are completely false or fabricated.
Why does it do that? Can't it just say, I don't know?
Often, no. Its goal is to provide a statistically likely response based on the prompt and its data. If it doesn't have a specific fact or quote you asked for, it might construct something that looks like a fact or quote because that's the pattern it recognizes. It fills the gap with plausible nonsense.
Plausible nonsense. That's dangerous. Especially like they mentioned with things like citations or sources.
Extremely dangerous. Which brings us back to that lawyer. That wasn't just a hypothetical risk.
No, that really happened. He used AI-generated case citations in a legal filing.
And the citations were completely bogus. They didn't exist. The consequences were severe sanctions, damage to his reputation.
The lesson there is crystal clear, isn't it?
Absolutely non-negotiable. You are the author. The human is always, always responsible for verifying the AI's output. Fact check everything. Assume nothing.
Okay, so beyond outright fabrication, there's the more subtle issue of bias. The sources were careful to explain this isn't necessarily malice, but statistical leaning.
Right. AI learns from the data it's trained on, and that data reflects the world, including existing human biases, inequalities, and stereotypes. The AI absorbs these patterns.
And it can even amplify them, right?
Potentially, yes, because it identifies and replicates patterns without understanding the social context or the harm they might represent. The UK exam algorithm story from 2020 is a stark example of this.
Ah, yes, the pandemic grading system. What went wrong there?
Well, they needed a way to standardize grades when exams were canceled. The algorithm they designed used various factors, but crucially, it weighed the historical performance of the student's school quite heavily.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah. So students at schools in less privileged areas, schools that historically had lower average grades, were systematically downgraded by the algorithm, even if their individual performance and teacher assessments were excellent.
So it penalized bright students simply because of the school they attended, based on past statistics.
Exactly. It baked in and amplified existing inequalities because it relied on historical patterns without any human context or nuance about individual achievement, a devastating real-world impact of statistical bias.
Which just hammers home why the human element, that context and judgment, is so vital. It's not about replacing humans.
No, and that links directly to what the World Economic Forum is saying about the future of work. The key concept is augmentation, not automation.
Enhancing human capabilities, not replacing them.
Precisely. Employers are actually estimating that by 2030, maybe around 30% of work tasks will involve some kind of human-machine collaboration. The AI becomes a tool, a co-pilot.
It handles the data crunching, the pattern spotting, the first draft, maybe.
Freeing up humans to focus on strategy, critical thinking, creativity, empathy, the things machines can't replicate.
So if the machines are doing more of the technical heavy lifting, what skills become more valuable for us humans? Technical skills like AI and data analysis are obviously growing, but what else?
The so-called soft skills become paramount. Things like creative thinking, absolutely. Resilience and flexibility adapting to change. Emotional intelligence, understanding and interacting with other humans. And maybe most importantly, lifelong learning. The ability and willingness to continuously adapt and acquire new skills.
Your ability to think critically, adapt, and connect is your core advantage over the tool.
That's the value proposition.
To make this more concrete, the sources gave that great example of using AI for creative work,
Yes.
specifically video, the idea of a visual director's breakdown.
Right. Instead of just feeding the AI a story summary and hoping for the best, you act like a director giving precise instructions.
So you break it down.
Yeah. You specify the visual cues like show a close-up of a steaming coffee cup on a rain-streaked windowsill. You define the actions character slowly looks up, the motions slow zoom out, the mood, melancholy, quiet.
Giving it that granular detail allows for much finer control over the output. You're translating your vision into machine-readable instructions.
Exactly. It bridges the gap between human intent and AI execution.
And that kind of ties into the other fascinating example, the voice paradox with the Glasgow bus cruise scenario.
Oh, yeah, that was striking. The AI obviously has no emotions, no understanding of Scottish culture or bus driver banter.
Right, zero real-world experience.
And yet, when given a detailed prompt describing the scenario, the setting, the characters, the situation, it generated dialogue that sounded remarkably authentic. Believable phrasing, local-sounding accent cues, even a sense of natural conversation flow.
How? Just pattern matching again.
Essentially, yes. Because the prompt provided rich context, the AI could draw on patterns in its training data associated with that context, Scottish dialogue, workplace conversations, etc., and statistically assemble a believable output. It simulated realism without feeling it.
Context is king then, both for control and for believable output.
Absolutely. The better you set the scene, the better the reflection in the mirror.
Okay, wrapping up, we need to hit the essential safety and ethics rules. Rule number 1 seems straightforward but critical. Personal data.
It's non-negotiable. Never, ever feed sensitive personal information into a publicly accessible AI chatbot. No names, addresses, phone numbers, health details, passwords, confidential work stuff, nothing.
Treat it like a public forum, basically. Assume anything you type could be seen or used.
That's the safest mindset. Assume it's being logged or potentially used for future training data. Keep private info private.
Safety rule number 2. Verification. We touched on this with the lawyer, but it bears repeating.
Always check the facts. If the AI gives you a statistic, a quote, a historical date, a piece of code, verify it yourself using reliable, independent sources.
Look for trusted domains, cross-reference with multiple sources. Don't just take the AI's word for it.
Never. Especially if it sounds too good to be true or if it perfectly confirms your existing beliefs. Which leads to the next point.
Avoiding the echo chamber.
Exactly. Don't just use AI to tell you what we want to hear. Actively use it for critique. Ask it, what are the weaknesses in this argument? Or play devil's advocate, how could this plan fail? Or how could this idea be improved?
Using it to challenge yourself, not just affirm yourself. That prevents intellectual laziness.
Right. Unquestioning acceptance stifles your own critical thinking. You want it to sharpen you, not dull you.
And finally, the big picture. Ethics. The sources didn't try to solve it all, but framed it with some core questions we all need to consider.
Yeah, really fundamental questions that regulators are grappling with, but that affect all of us as users. Questions like, how do we ensure AI systems are fair and don't perpetuate harmful biases?
And the big one, who is responsible when an AI makes a mistake that causes harm? Is it the developer, the user, the company deploying it?
There aren't easy answers, but thinking about fairness and accountability is crucial. It's an ongoing conversation we all need to be part of.
So pulling it all together, what's the main takeaway for you listening to this?
I think it's this. AI, especially Gen AI, is an incredibly powerful tool. It can accelerate your work, automate tedious tasks, even spark creativity. It's designed to amplify human capabilities.
But your unique human qualities, your judgment, your ability to understand context, your intuition, your creativity, your ethical compass, those are the things the machine doesn't have. That's your edge.
That's what makes you indispensable. The goal isn't to think like the machine, it's to think with it, critically and strategically.
So the challenge, the final thought to leave you with, is to move beyond just asking simple questions. Take the techniques we've talked about, the precise prompting, the layered refinement, the critical perspective.
And apply them to something meaningful. Think about a complex problem or a challenging project you've been wrestling with. Instead of just asking the AI for an answer, ask it, How can this be improved or reworked?
Use the AI as a sparring partner, a brainstorming assistant, but always bring your own critical human judgment to the table. See what new potential you can unlock.